Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 8. Jerry Tavares here with the one and only Anthony Pinto, all the way from Malaysia. So, today we're going to be talking about a very special topic, especially towards the end of the year, which is the feeling of not feeling like you are where you are supposed to be in life. Over and over, we see people making New Year's resolutions, people being depressed or sad about the situation that they are in, and feeling like they have wasted their last 10, 20 years in life. I know that before I came to Germany about 10 years ago, that's exactly how I felt. I was at that place about 10 years ago, and I felt like there was no exit for me. That's where I was. And in the last 10 years, I reinvented myself and I left the past behind, the person that I didn't know, that I no longer wanted to be, and became the person that I want to be today. Now, I am not a millionaire. Maybe I think Tony's a millionaire secretly, but we're not going to say that. Um, I am not a millionaire, and it was not about the money. It was not about the accolades. It was about me finding peace within myself and being comfortable with who I am. That to me was the greatest challenge. So, because as we all know, money comes, money goes, relationships come, they go. But the only thing that never goes away is ourselves, that person that we see every single day in front of the mirror. So, how can we become okay and accept and be happy with that person that we see in front of the mirror? To me, that was my greatest challenge that I had to overcome in life. And today I can happily say that I am happy with that human being that I see in the mirror every morning. So today we're going to be talking about that and we're going to unpack it. This is not very structured because we're just talking about this off camera, and we're just going to talk about our experiences with our clients, and we're going to see where we go with this. So I hope that you enjoy it, and we're going to try to make it as informational as possible for you today. Tony, thank you so much for joining me. And this is a totally different podcast than what we normally do, but I think it's so important since we're coming towards the end of the year. And as we were talking off camera, and I said, wait, let's start recording because Tony was going to give me a story from one of his clients. So, Tony, go ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting. I see you now with your glasses on.
Yes, this is actually, guys, I don't need glasses. Okay. And this is not to look smart, is because I am testing these glasses for the screen, for the daylight screen. It's supposed to be softer on your eyes. I'm not sponsored by this, and I don't know who makes these glasses. So I'm just wearing them so for the strain of my eyes. Maybe it works. We'll see.
Yeah, so I was saying just now, this morning I went to the gym and this other guy in the gym, he's in the HR space. He does recruiting and training and I guess leadership training, right? And he just said to me, Tony, this week, today's Friday, right? He said, this week, I don't seem to have enough energy. Why am I so tired? Right? And I said, why? What are you feeling? He said, just not up to it. I said, what happened? He said, I ever since the pandemic, he's working hybrid, right? So he goes into the office at 9:30 and he leaves by 3 o'clock. But his people in the office goes there every day. And he says that, before the pandemic, he's always very tight in his time and he's got a full day and he's busy. And now from 9:30 to 3 o'clock, and then he leaves and he's got a bit more time. And he said, am I not pushing myself hard enough? Right? This guy comes to the gym like almost every day, 4 or 5 days a week. I know that he works completely full attention and then he goes off to work. I don't see how he cannot be where he wants to be. So I said to him, it must be psychosomatic. What does that mean? So, you're giving all these meanings to yourself that you're not feeling where you want to be, and that drains your energy. So I said, so what you need to think about is why. What is your big why of where you are and who you want to be? And most times when we disconnect from that big why, we will spiral down because it's natural for us to focus on the negatives, right? So, and the moment you lose that big why of where you want to be and who you want to be, you start thinking about what you're not. And when you start thinking about what you're not, your mind has got a wonderful ability to do that self-reflection and tell you more and more and more of what you're not.
Yes. Yeah, that is so true. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how the mind works, right? And
Yeah.
we're wired that way. And I've always said that negative emotions are naturally wired. Positive emotions requires a little bit more work.
Is a safety mechanism, right? With negative emotions, they keep us alert so that we can stay alive, right? Like, is
Yeah.
a bush is moving. Is it a koala that wants to hug us, or is it a tiger that is trying to eat us? Thinking about the koala doesn't keep us alive as good as thinking that it's a tiger. So naturally, we're born, or we're engineered to look for those threats and the negativity so that we can stay alert. So if we're not aware of that, if we don't switch to that sage mode, that wisdom that we have,
Right.
and into those positive thoughts, it's really difficult to get out. Yeah,
Yeah. And that reminds me, right? You know, we all seen the movie Matrix.
the Matrix.
Yeah. So when Morpheus first met Neo, I just want to quote something that he said. He said that Neo, that you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, kept inside a prison that you cannot smell, taste, or touch. A prison for your mind.
Yeah,
We're all caught in this. We all live in a matrix of frames, frames of mind, frames of reference, frames of meaning. And if we get caught in that, and I said, if we start thinking about who we are not, that prison where we're caught in, the frames that we're caught in, will just spiral us further down.
yeah. And before we get even deeper into that, I just want to mention before I forget that we can turn that negative thing that we have into a positive, because as the studies showed, that the only way that a smoker will stop smoking is not by knowing that smoke harms them. It's by not identifying as a smoker anymore.
Yeah.
So once you change that identification, who you are not, you can use that to propel yourself into who you would want to be.
Yeah.
Right. So we can turn that negative into a positive and use it to our advantage. That is something that I used. It's like a feather here. It's like 10 years ago. That's exactly what I used.
Yeah.
Uh, One of the things that I've noticed, Tony, I noticed two things. One of them, um, I guess, is after I became a coach. Right, before I had these tools, I was not aware of it. So I'm so thankful for becoming a coach, because I became my own coach, even though I hired other coaches, but that helped me out so much. Two things. One of them was that I noticed that I was living not for myself, but for the sake of others. I was seeing what other people were doing, what other people were achieving. And I thought that that was the goal. That was the bar that I had to aim for. And I lost myself. I got lost because I was living multiple identities that were not who I was.
Mm,
And,
mm.
and I remember, and the realization to me was the accolades, getting awards, getting expensive things, let's say expensive cars, amazing trips, all of this stuff that you see people bragging about on social media. And once you do them, the fun is over. The minute you get it, the fun is over. And I was always asking myself, I'm working so hard to achieve these amazing things. And once I achieve them, I don't enjoy them. And then it was a big realization for me, because one, I noticed that I was living through other people's lens and expectations. And two, I was not after getting the things. Oh, look at those clothes. What just happened? What just happened?
Celebration.
Celebration. Is it like this? Do I have to go like this? Let me see. Is it so?
No, I don't know. I think it meant the
I don't know.
AI on the words.
AI. The AI is infiltrated. So, and the second thing was that I was not after getting the things. The feeling that I was seeking was having the ability to get them.
Right. Yeah. You know, interesting that when you said that, I was thinking we've always heard this phrase, right? The journey is more important than the destination. And you know what? That phrase,
Mhm.
somebody just asked me the other day, I mean, who came up with that phrase? The journey is more important than the destination, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I kind of thought about it. I says, wait a minute, I never really thought about that. Now, as we spoke, it reminded me of something that actually was discussed quite a bit. When we are in pursuit, when we drive ourselves towards an objective, that pursuit releases a lot of dopamine,
Mm-hmm.
that reward chemical, right?
Yeah.
And the moment you get it, that's done. And you get a dopamine crush or crash.
Yeah.
And that's really what it means. That neurologically and neurochemistry wise, that's happening. That dopamine just crashes completely, right? And you lose it. So the journey is more important. The journey meaning what? Meaning that be the best of who you are on the way there.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
quote is from Ralph Waldo Emerson. It's not the destination, it's the journey. That's the one that I
Right.
found so far.
Yeah. And that was before neuroscience, right? So now neuroscience it's the dopamine, guy.
It's a dopamine hit. Yeah, it's that dopamine that we're after, right? That chase, right? The chase is the most important thing. Um, yeah.
But the
I
challenge is this, like I read, I still have got to locate the actual research, right? The research says that 7 out of 8 people faced with a life and death situation will still not make the lifestyle change they need to make
yeah,
to be
yeah.
the best of who they can be.
Yeah, I think that's from the same research that I was looking into. Yeah,
Yeah. So if you think about that, then 7 out of 8 people not going to make that change, which means that people really need a lot of help on how to make that change, right? And so it comes down to really the why, the meaning and purpose that you have.
yeah.
If you're not connected to that, it's so easy just not to do it, basically.
And Tony, as you're saying that, I'm thinking that it's also it is a lot easier to fail at something you don't really care about than something that you really do care about, right? The blow is not going to be as hard. So many people don't go for what they really want to do in life or their why because they're afraid of failure, because that's
That's
going
right.
to be a big hit. Um, and to which I also used to resonate that way. I'm speaking also from personal experience. This is me 10 years ago, right? My life changed about 10 years ago. So this is me. And now the way that I think about it is if I'm going to fail, might as well fail at what I would love to do,
And
right?
as quickly as you can.
And as quickly as I can. Might as well just enjoy the process of going after what I want to do instead of just thinking about what could have been or living in regret, you know?
Yeah. And in our practice of NLP, we say there is no failure, only feedback.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so one of the biggest challenges we all face is this, right? We confuse who we are with what we do. And this brings up a very subtle distinction between self-esteem and self-confidence.
Yeah.
We mix that up all the time, right? We
Yeah.
mix self-esteem with self-confidence. Now, if you think about self-confidence is really related to some skill. If you're not good at the skill and you need to get it done, you're not going to be confident enough. But that particular skill really has nothing to do with your self-esteem, because your self-esteem is your self-worth.
Yeah.
We were all born at 100% self-worth because we didn't know about beating ourselves up, right?
No, no.
So as we grew, we started beating ourselves up. And if today we ask ourselves on a scale of 0 to 1 to 100, right? Where would we rate our self-esteem?
Tony, as you say that, I'm thinking about my daughter, my 3.5-year-old, and she has no fear. She gets on top of things. She does things that for a grown up is like, that's not a good idea. And now I am thinking, and I'm going to be aware from now on, at what age, if I'm going to try for that not to happen, at what age does that flip where she starts to get scared about getting on top of things, not getting on top of a chair or on a ladder? At what age and what influences that? Because that's a massive change. We see that in children
Yeah.
have no fear.
Yep. I think the age they're talking about is between 4 and 5.
Okay,
And because they start going to preschool up to age 4 and 5, right?
that's right.
So the whole education system kills that adventure.
Okay,
So there, there's a statistic that says that, children just before 4 years old, 98% of 4-year-olds are creative. And
that's right.
when you look at, middle-aged people, like less than 2% are creative. So the whole creativity over the years of our education was completely knocked out of the heads.
Which brings an important point because if we're talking about, oh, I don't feel where I am in life, where I should be, or you start comparing yourself to others, you have to understand that it's not completely your fault because of this indoctrination.
I remember when I was a little kid, we used to have to write this little dream essay in the class. And I said, I want to be a teacher. For whatever reason, I wrote that, right? I never thought about it after that. Then over the years, I went through different careers. I started off as a chemical engineer, then went into marketing, then into finance, and finally ended up doing training and coaching. And now it's like, this is exactly what I want to be, right?
Yeah.
After so many years. And I remember when I was flying to the US to do my MBA, on the flight, I was reading the famous Reader's Digest magazine. And I saw a quote there that really stuck to me. It said, the purpose of life is not just to be happy. And the purpose of life is to make a difference.
Yeah.
And that little phrase I read on that flight has stuck with me for the last 30, 40 years. And every time I get stuck anywhere, I say, what's the difference that I want to make here? In every interaction that I have with another human being, what is the difference that I want to make here that elevates them?
Yeah.
Yeah. That really drives me. And I remember, I started learning meditation and teaching meditation. And I remember one day I was in a coffee shop sitting down on my own, and somebody sat down beside me, and I introduced myself and started chatting. And then before she left, she already learned how to do meditation. And she said, thank you so much for that, because she was feeling a bit stressed out, right?
Yeah.
So coming back again, saying, okay, who do you want to, who are you, right?
Yeah.
And so it's the meaning and purpose for where you are is what you want to hold on to.
Yeah. And many people also have the issue that they don't know who they are. When you ask that question, it's a really dark question for many people. Who are you? Right? They identify themselves as their job, or I'm a parent, but who really are you? That's a tough question for many people. So
Yeah, the existential question never has an answer, right? If you ask, who am I? You won't have an answer. I guess the alternative is say, how am I feeling now about myself? Yeah. And you can change that. If I say, I'm feeling great, I'm feeling happy, I'm feeling excited, you can connect with that,
Yeah.
right? If you say, I'm feeling down, I'm feeling disappointed, then become aware of it. And then, of course, finding help or getting the resources to change that, which you can change.
Yeah.
But when you ask the existential question of who am I, and you come, I've got no answer,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you get lost, right?
Yeah. Well, I would like to I would like to suggest to, if you're having trouble with a question, flip it. Forget about it for a second and then answer this one. Who do I want to become? Right?
Yep.
Because this frees you from having to stick to what is my persona, what is my avatar, who am I? And you start looking into the future and say, in 10 years, who do I want to become? Like what is going to make me feel amazing, joyful, fulfilled in life? And
Yeah.
and just start working towards that. Because if you want to become that, you're going to start thinking about, well, how does this person actually behaves? How does this person think? What does this person do? What does this person doesn't do? What doesn't this person do? You start analyzing and structuring and see that behavior that is needed to get there, right? And then
Yeah.
you can start forming yourself. It's like the same thing as people ask me, what is my purpose, Jerry? I want to find my purpose. You make your purpose,
Yeah.
right? You don't find your purpose. You make your purpose based on what fulfills you in life. And that's
Yeah.
something that you cannot fake.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you want to look at a simple framework on how to move forward, right? There, we describe it as our matrix. What's our matrix, right? Our matrix has got 8 components. Okay. So you talked about me being a detailed person. Yeah, I broke it
And
down
Tony in
into
the numbers. In the other episode was 26 sub skills. Now is 8 components. Get ready, people.
And this is our practice. This is our practice of neurosemantics. What is neurosemantics, right?
Yeah.
Neuro is your neurology and your nervous system. Semantics is making meaning.
Yeah.
So all the meanings that we make will go into our neurology, and that neurology translates into behavior. And what is behavior? What we say and what we do, right?
Yeah.
So we call them process matrices. And we talked about, getting caught in the system, right? 4-year-olds and above get caught into a system. And Morpheus in Matrix says caught into the prison of our mind,
Yeah.
right? So how do we get out of that prison? Well, 3 things. Number one, what's my intention for myself? What is meaningful for me? And what is the state or emotional state I need to put myself in to be able to work towards my intention and my meaning?
Beautiful.
Yeah. So that's how you can kind of simplify it. Otherwise, it's like all over the place, right?
Yeah.
So that's the process. The process is get your intention, work on your intention for yourself and your meaning for yourself, and put yourself in the state that supports the intention and meaning. Yeah.
And yeah, state is imperative for you to do
Yeah.
this work. And
Exactly.
it's so important. People think that it's wishy-washy, or they think it's a manipulation technique. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
Studies have shown that. They have done brain scans, your state, even the poses, the way that you sit, the way that you move, the way that you speak, how you put your head. It
Yeah.
is all part of the state, and it's so important, your physiology, in order for you to start resonating that frequency to attract who you really want to become. It is
Yeah.
really,
State of mind and state of body, right? And of
yeah,
course, state of meanings, right? Basically. So intention, meaning, and state, right?
yeah,
So that's the process, right? So, but we all live in an environment of content, ourself. First is ourself, who our identity.
yeah.
So we got to define from that purpose, from intention, meaning, and state. We can identify our identity, basically self. And then we live in an ecosystem, right?
An environment,
So
yeah, yeah. I was thinking just that.
environment, yeah. So what is our self and relationship with other people? And of course, then you recognize their own intention, meanings, and state also, right? So that's one thing you can do. So your relationship with others, And then what about your relationship with the skills that you have or the powers that you have? Yeah. The power to take responsibility is our own power, nobody else.
Yeah.
And the skills we want to develop to achieve our meaning and intention is up to us.
Yeah.
You're going to say something, Jerry?
Yeah. Before I forget, is exactly on what you were saying. I was going to ask you, who was the person that said you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with?
Yeah, I just heard that actually.
Yeah, because that came up to me because it is so true. Environment triumph everything. So they did a study. I heard from Ben Shapiro that education or smartness is not about race. It's not about the people. It's about the environment. I believe that the study showed that if you grab a kid and you take him or her out from the projects really early in life, and you put him in an affluent environment, this kid will triumph, will be very successful on average. You take a kid from this great environment really early on, you put him in a low income, low education environment, that kid is going to struggle.
Yeah.
So environment is everything. So when you're trying to become, once you decide who you want to become in life, and can be materialistic, can be spiritual, whatever it is your definition is, you have to look at your environment. Does your environment support your future vision of yourself? And if it doesn't, you have to start working towards it. 10 years ago, going back to my story, Tony, I had to get rid of my environment. If I had not changed my environment 10 years ago, or 13 years ago to be exact, I would not be speaking to you today here. I might not be alive today. Right?
Yeah.
So I had to make a conscious decision. And sometimes I even have nightmares of that past environment. So it's still there in my subconsciousness. And sometimes it activates. Right. But I had to remove myself from that environment, from New York all the way to Germany, 180-degree environment, new friends, new everything. And some people even went to my mom's house looking for me like 3-4 months later because they didn't hear from me. Maybe it was not the right thing to do. Sorry, but I needed to remove myself from that environment. Otherwise, 9 out of 10, I would not be here today.
Wow. That's a big one, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm I'm a volunteer mentor for the Rotary Club, or community service organization, and we mentor high school students, right? So, and this is exactly what I say to the students. They all come from low income families, high risk families, right? So let's check with them. So who are your friends? Who are you mixing with? Yeah. And as you said, I mean, the person we become will be largely determined by the people we are with on a weekly basis and the amount of time we spend with them. Of course, the other part of it is the books we read also, right?
Yeah.
The ecosystem, the environment has a big play on it, but you have to make some choices about changing the environment, changing your friends. There are some people in our lives that do not have permission to be that.
They do not serve us. Yeah.
Yeah. So I said, if you have people in your environment or in your circle, your inner circle, for example, especially your inner circle of friends, right? If anyone there is draining your energy all the time, get rid of them.
Yeah. Tony, I heard I heard a story from a pastor yesterday. And he was saying, this is what the pastor said. I forgot his name and I'm sorry. Maybe I can put it in the show notes here, the name. He said that a woman took her pet snake to the veterinarian because the snake, the python, stopped eating and it was looking kind of sad. And then the woman took the python to the doctor and said, hey, my python feels really sick. It feels sad. It doesn't want to eat anymore. It's about 3 or 4 days that it has not eaten. And then the veterinarian said, let me ask you a question. Does your snake cuddles with you and just like tries to like go along your side and tries to get next to you? And she looked at him and said, yeah, yeah, he's very cuddly at the moment. And this is what the guy said. He said, oh, your python is not sick or sad. It's just sizing you up to see what it's going to take to eat you. And then he said, the same thing happens in your environment. People come next to you, they sense your energy, they evaluate it, and then they try to measure it to see how they can just suck the whole energy alive. And I said, wow, that is powerful. That was a good.
Yeah. Yeah. So, a simple rule, right? If there's somebody draining energy from you, why are you spending time with them anyway? Yeah.
Well, we have the pleaser, right? I'm a recovering pleaser. And you think that you can help these people out. You say, oh, you got to bring these people up and use your energy to help them out. And all that they're doing is that they're sucking the energy. And
Definitely.
It's not your job to do that, right? It is your job.
Yeah. The choice, right? So we
Yeah.
said, so intention, meaning, state, and then yourself, your relationship with others, and the skills you need to develop. And two more left, right? The other one is, what is your relationship with time?
Yeah.
I mean, the other day we had a coaching session, and the coachee was saying, right, I'm running out of time. What do you mean running out of time? So he put himself in such tight deadlines that he's not able to achieve it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once you take that, if you have a good relationship with time, because we're not in control of time.
No.
Yeah. So what's it? There's good news and bad news, right?
Yeah.
The bad news is that time is going to go by anyway, with or without you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the good time is going to fly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the bad news. You know what's the good news?
Mhm.
You're the pilot.
Yeah. I always say that there's no such thing as time management. There's only task management because you cannot manage something you cannot control.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what's your relationship with time? The other day someone told me, I need to find time to do this. And I said, oh, can I help you? When did you lose it? Do we need to look around? Where do we look for it?
Should we look for it? Yeah, that can be very sarcastic, very, very patronizing, right? But it's a joke.
That was a joke. But what's our relationship with time, right? It's as you said, time. I said, don't manage time. It's going to fly by anyway. So manage what you do in the time that you are having with you, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about your priorities. Yeah.
Yeah. And so finally, the self that we have lives in a world. It's a world of, environment, world of systems, world of, nature, and everything else, right? So what is your relationship to everything in the world besides others, your skills and time? That's the simple model to look at in what we call in our practice, the matrix model, right? And it's good to revisit that movie, The Matrix, because it's so real, right? Uh, so you said that the 8 elements, right? So process matrix, the intention, your meaning, and your state, right?
Yeah.
Just sit down and spend some time. The end of the year, people are going to, as I said, when you compare yourself with other people, you're going to suffer all the time. So sit down and think about, so what's your intention and meaning for yourself, and what the state you need to be in, state of mind, state of body, to, go forward in the new year, 2024. Yeah. And then identify, yourself, as a person, who you want to become, as you said, and what's your relationship with others. Yeah. Who in your ecosystem, who are the others in your ecosystem that is also meaningful for you, that you want to build those relationships, and spend time with only people that adds energy to you rather than drain energy. Yeah. And then, of course, what is the power or skills you need to develop? Yeah. To get to your intention and meaning. And what's your relationship to time? I mean, you are the pilot of time. So don't get caught with it and say that, I can't hold it. Yeah. And then, of course, your relationship with the world. Yeah. So that's how we can simplify that. Otherwise, we get caught with the major error, major error of identifying ourselves by what we do, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I just like to just tell this story I tell all the time when we're talking about self-identity and all of that. And this was when I was at the Louvre in Paris, the Louvre Museum, and
Yeah.
there's a statue of a man, right, carved by Michelangelo. And that statue is known to be a perfect statue in all its anatomical proportions. And someone asked Michelangelo, how were you able to carve this perfect statue? The statue of David, they call it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Statue of David. How were you able to carve such a perfect statue of David? And Michelangelo basically just said this: David was always there. I took away the stuff that's not supposed to be there.
That's beautiful.
So,
That's deep. Yeah.
so when we are who we are that perfect statue of David. All we need to do is remove the stuff that's not supposed to be there. And you'll discover who you can become and be.
Yeah. Which circles back to what you said at the beginning.
Mm,
This comes full
yeah,
circle.
yeah.
Beautiful
That's how you
conversation.
can enjoy the holiday season and prepare yourself for next year, 2024 coming up. Yeah. David, think David, you're David.
Yeah.
Just get rid of the stuff that's not supposed to be there. And could be some people.
Yeah. Could be some people. It just means not talking to them or separating yourself from them. Doesn't mean anything else, right? Not getting rid of them, right? Don't do that. Be careful listening to Tony, yeah? So
yeah. So I hope that helps in terms of, how we want to see ourselves, what our identity and purpose, yeah, and who we want to become.
And remember that this is a work in progress. We are in live here, flying through space right now, developing and learning about ourselves and creating the best experience that we can create in this world. So remember to be kind to yourself and know that it's about the journey and not so much about the destination as everyone wants to throw at us.
Yeah. Yep. Excellent.